Family, huh? Funny how that word's supposed to mean trust. Loyalty. Turns out, it's just another goddamn lie people wrap around betrayal to make it sting worse. I remember the exact moment Mike showed up at our door. Elsa's big brother, standing there with his pathetic duffel bag and those bloodshot eyes that were supposed to make me feel sorry for him. It was raining, the kind of cold November rain that seeps into your bones and makes you miserable just listening to it drum against the windows. I opened the door and there he was, water dripping from his leather jacket onto my welcome mat. "Hey, man," he mumbled, not quite meeting my eyes. Amber kicked me out. I could smell the whiskey on his breath from 3 feet away. The stubble on his face was 5 days old, at least. His hair was greasy, slicked back like some wannabe biker who'd lost his way. Everything about him screamed loser. That so? I leaned against the doorframe, blocking his entrance. Wonder why? He shrugged those broad shoulders, the ones Elsa always said made him look like their dad. Made some mistakes. Need time to sort things out. Yeah, right. I didn't buy it, not for a second. I'd met his wife Amber exactly 3 times, and even I could tell she was too good for him. Smart woman, worked as a nurse, pretty in that quiet, no makeup kind of way. Always looked at Mike like she was waiting for him to grow up. Guess she finally stopped waiting. But Elsa? My sweet little fool of a wife. She appeared behind me, her face lighting up like a kid on Christmas morning at the sight of her precious brother. Mike. She practically shoved me out of the way to hug him. Oh my God, come in, come in. What happened? Are you okay? And that was when I should have put my foot down. Should have said no. But Elsa begged. Pleaded. Looked at me with those big green eyes that used to make my heart race but now just made me feel manipulated. Just for a few days, babe, she whispered, her hand on my arm. He's family. Family. There's that fucking word again. So I let the bastard in. Biggest mistake of my life. For a whole damn month, he stank up my house. Turned my living room into his personal trash heap. Empty beer cans on the coffee table. Half-eaten sandwiches left on the arm of my couch. Wet towels on the bathroom floor. Hogged my TV, always watching some bullshit sports game at full volume. Drank my beer, the good stuff I'd been saving for weekends, like it was tap water. Thanks, bro, he'd say, smirking as he cracked open another one of my craft IPAs. Real solid of you to help out family. He'd throw that word around like it was his personal get-out-of-jail-free card. Family this, family that. And each time, I'd catch Elsa smiling at him like he was some kind of hero instead of the parasite he really was. I should have thrown him out the second he put his muddy boots on my couch. Those disgusting, oil-stained work boots that left black smudges on the fabric Elsa and I had spent hours picking out at the furniture store. I remember walking in from work, seeing him sprawled there, boots up, beer in hand, watching my TV, eating my food. Hey, man, was all he said, not even bothering to look up from the screen. But I kept swallowing it. Kept choking down my anger like a bad pill. For Elsa. For family. I'd come home from 10-hour shifts at the distribution center, back aching, hands calloused, only to find them laughing together on the couch, sharing inside jokes I wasn't part of. They'd go quiet when I walked in, like I was interrupting something precious. Just reminiscing, Elsa would say, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. Good times, Mike would add, winking at her. I should have seen it. All the signs were there, blinking like neon in my face. The way she'd touch his arm when she laughed. The way he'd watch her when she walked across the room. The hushed conversations that stopped when I entered the kitchen. The long walks they'd take together to catch up that left her cheeks flushed and her eyes bright when they returned. But I was working overtime, trying to save for the house Elsa had been eyeing in the suburbs. The one with the backyard she said would be perfect for kids someday. I was so focused on building our future that I didn't see them burning down our present. And then today happened. I got off work early. Sanders, my supervisor, had actually patted me on the back. "Take off, Reynolds. You've earned it." We'd landed a new client, thanks to my pitch. First time in 3 years I'd left before 5. Had this stupid idea to surprise my wife, maybe drag her out for a burger and a cheap beer at O'Malley's. Celebrate a little. Remind her why she'd picked me in the first place. Instead, life decided to knife me straight in the ribs. I pulled into the driveway at 3:17 p.m. I remember checking my watch, thinking Elsa would be surprised to see me home so early. Her car was there. So was Mike's beat-up truck, the one he loved more than anything, always working on it in his spare time, pouring money into it instead of paying his bills. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. No TV noise. No kitchen sounds. Nothing. "Elsa?" I called out. No answer. I figured they might have gone for one of their walks, but both cars were there. Maybe they were in the backyard. But the sliding door was locked from the inside. Something felt off. That gut feeling you get when the air around you seems to thicken with wrongness. I moved through the house, calling her name again. Nothing. Then I noticed the bedroom door was closed. We never closed it during the day. Elsa said it made the house feel smaller. I cracked open the bedroom door, and there they were. The image burned into my brain like acid. Elsa, naked, sprawled across Mike like some cheap stripper after a bad night. Her dark hair spread across his chest, her legs draped over him, sheets tangled around them like they'd been at it for hours. His hands still clutching her ass like he owned it. Their skin sweaty, disgusting, stuck together like two pieces of garbage in the sun. The room stank of sex and betrayal. The blinds were half drawn, casting strips of afternoon light across their bodies, highlighting every detail I didn't want to see, the red marks on her thighs where his fingers had dug in, the scratch marks on his shoulders where she'd clawed at him, the used condom wrapper on the floor next to our bed, our fucking marital bed. And get this, they were smiling in their sleep. Smiling. Like they'd finally found their happy place in their own personal dumpster fire. I stood there, frozen, feeling my heart crack open and spill something dark and toxic into my veins. My fingers went numb around the doorknob. My throat closed up like I was allergic to what I was seeing. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The late-night whispers. The inside jokes. The long showers Mike would take after Elsa had been in the bathroom. The way she'd started wearing that black lace nightgown, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary, around the house when I wasn't home. Turns out Mike didn't just get kicked out for cheating, he got kicked out because he was busy grinding his sister-in-law like some rabid animal while his wife was out working double shifts to pay the bills. And Elsa? She wasn't some victim pulled into it. She lit the damn match. She was the reason he got booted, the reason he ended up at our door, and the reason my life turned into a goddamn sideshow. I closed the door without a sound. Didn't even flinch. Just gently clicked it shut and stood there in the hallway, letting the truth settle over me like toxic ash. 5 years of marriage. 5 years of working myself to the bone to give her the life she said she wanted. 5 years of "I love yous" and "forevers" and "you're the only one for MES." All bullshit. All a cover for whatever sick thing she had going with her brother-in-law. I went to the kitchen and poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey. Knocked it back in one burning gulp. Poured another. The alcohol hit my empty stomach like napalm, but I welcomed the pain. It was clean. Honest. Unlike everything else in my life. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten breakfast together that morning. Where she'd kissed me goodbye and told me to have a good day. Where she'd probably fucked her brother-in-law the minute my car left the driveway. That was when the rage should have come. The screaming. The breaking of dishes. The violent confrontation scene straight out of some daytime soap opera. But something cold and calculating had taken root instead. Something that watched dispassionately as plans formed in my mind, one after another, precise and lethal. Because right then and there, I knew something beautiful was about to be born. I didn't scream. I didn't punch walls. I got to work. First, I went to my office and fired up the laptop. Logged into our joint bank accounts, the savings account with the down payment for that house she wanted, the checking account with our monthly budget, the rainy day fund she'd insisted on starting when we got married. All told, just over $57,000. Money we'd scraped together over 5 years of careful saving. Money she thought was safe. 3 clicks and a phone call to verify my identity later, every dollar was transferred into a brand new account under my name only, one she didn't even know existed. I'd opened it 6 months ago when I'd started getting suspicious, when she'd started coming home late from girls' nights, with lipstick smudged and her clothes smelling like cheap cologne. Next, I pulled out my phone and methodically canceled every card she used, credit, debit, you name it. Reported them all stolen. Requested new ones sent to my parents' address 3 states away. By the time she woke up, her wallet would be filled with useless plastic. I moved through the house like a ghost, collecting anything that mattered to me, the watch my grandfather left me, the signed baseball from the one game my dad took me to before he died, the few photos I wanted to keep. Not much, really. 5 years of marriage and I could fit everything that mattered in a single duffel bag. As I packed, I called Joey down at the garage. He owed me from the time I'd helped him move his ex-wife's stuff out of his place while she was at work. Need a favor, I said when he picked up. No questions asked. Shoot, he replied. There's a beat-up Ford F-150 in my driveway. Texas plates. Need it gone. Far gone. Joey whistled low. That's a big ask, man. Remember when I helped you clear out Sherry's closet before she could clean out your bank account? Remember who kept his mouth shut when she came looking? Silence on the line. Then, text me the address. I'll send my cousin Hector. Truck will be gone in 30. One more thing, I added. Make it hurt. Whatever you do with it, make it so it can never be found in one piece. You got it, Joey said, and hung up. Next, I took Mike's beat-up truck, the one he loved more than life itself, and waited for Hector to arrive. 20 minutes later, a tow truck pulled up silently. Hector, a mountain of a man with tattoos crawling up his neck, nodded at me once. No words needed. He hooked up Mike's precious truck and had it quietly towed away to a junkyard across the state line. No paperwork. No questions asked. By the time he wakes up, it'll already be a crushed cube of metal rotting in some scrapyard. I watched from the kitchen window as Mike's beloved truck disappeared down the street. Sipped my 3rd whiskey. Felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows across our living room. Their living room now, I supposed. Their mess to wade through once I was gone. I pulled out my phone again and logged into Elsa's company email. She'd given me the password years ago so I could help her with attachments she couldn't open. Never changed it. Typical Elsa, always taking the path of least resistance. And then the cherry on top, Elsa's company email just so happens to have access to a very sensitive client database. The kind that contains social security numbers, credit card information, medical histories. The kind of data that, if leaked, could cost her company millions and land her in legal hot water so deep she'd never surface. You'd be amazed how fast HR can fire someone when a little accidental leak shows up on their server. Especially when it's traced back to her login. With a few keystrokes, I downloaded a chunk of that database and sent it to 3 competitor companies from her email account. Then I deleted the sent items, but not before screenshotting everything as proof. The kind of proof that would ensure she never worked in her field again. I stood up, stretched. The house was still quiet. They were still asleep in their post-coital bliss, oblivious to the storm I was brewing around them. Oh, and Mike. He's got a court date next week for some old DUI he forgot to mention. Would be a real shame if the judge got an anonymous tip about him driving drunk last night, with time-stamped security footage from a bar he never even knew had cameras. I made that call next, disguising my voice, playing the concerned citizen. Mentioned how I'd seen him stumbling to his truck outside Flanagan Bar just last night. How I'd tried to take his keys but he'd shoved me away. How I feared for public safety. I described his truck in detail, the custom paint job he was so proud of, the lift kit he'd installed himself, the bumper sticker that read, "If you're reading this, you're too close." The court clerk sounded bored but took down every detail. Promised to pass it along to the judge. Thanked me for my civic duty. Civic duty. That made me laugh as I hung up. I checked my watch. 5:30 p.m. They'd be waking up soon, maybe heading to the kitchen for a snack before round 2. Maybe they'd notice my car in the driveway and wonder where I was. Maybe they'd start to feel the first twinges of fear. Good. I poured myself one last whiskey, savoring the burn. Looked around the kitchen where I'd made so many meals for us. Where I'd surprised her with breakfast in bed on her birthdays. Where we'd danced drunk after dinner parties, her head on my shoulder, laughing about our friends' antics. All fake. All lies built on a foundation of betrayal. I downed the whiskey and placed the glass carefully in the sink. Rinsed it. Dried it. Put it back in the cabinet. Old habits. I picked up my duffel bag and took one last look around. 5 years of my life in this house. 5 years I couldn't get back. My phone buzzed with a text from Joey, "Done. Truck's being processed as we speak. No one will find it." I smiled. The first real smile I'd felt all day. I walked out the front door without looking back. No note. No dramatic final words. Just silence and the knowledge of what was coming for them. By the time the two of them come crawling out of that filthy bed, they'll have no money, no jobs, no vehicles, no reputations. Hell, Mike might even be back in jail before he finishes his morning coffee. And me? I'll be halfway across the country, beer in hand, laughing my ass off at the trail of fire I left behind. I tossed my duffel bag into the trunk of my car and slid behind the wheel. Started the engine and pulled out of the driveway for the last time. The sky had turned a deep purple blue, streetlights flickering on one by one down the block. My phone rang. Elsa's face lit up my screen. I watched it ring until it stopped. Then it started again. And again. Text messages began flooding in. I didn't read them. Didn't need to. I drove to the bank and withdrew $5,000 in cash. Enough to keep me going until I reached my destination. Enough to start over somewhere they'd never find me. As I hit the highway, heading east into the darkening sky, I felt nothing but a cold, empty space where my heart used to be. No pain. No regret. Just the hollow satisfaction of knowing I'd burned their world to the ground as payment for what they'd done to mine. Some people might call it excessive, what I did. Might say I should have confronted them, shouted, gotten my closure through some tearful scene. But those people have never walked in on their wife fucking her brother-in-law in their marital bed. Those people have never had 5 years of love and trust shattered in a single moment. Those people have never tasted the particular flavor of rage that comes from such a complete betrayal. I crossed the state line just as my phone died from all their desperate calls and texts. Perfect timing. I pulled into a gas station, bought a prepaid phone with cash, and tossed my old one into a dumpster behind the building. New phone. New bank account. New life. No looking back. By morning, their world would be ashes. And from those ashes, I'd rise, reborn into something harder. Colder. Wiser. Because family? It's just another word for the people who know exactly where to stick the knife.